We flip switches every single day, we charge our phones, we power up our entire lives, and we pretty much never think about that massive, complex web of wires running just behind our walls. But here's the thing. That silent system, it's got a story to tell. And sometimes it sends out these little warnings that we really, really can't afford to ignore. Okay, let's dive into this and figure out what your home's wiring might be trying to tell you.
So, where does this all start? Well, usually it's with something small, something you've probably seen 100 times and just brushed off.
You know exactly what I'm talking about, right? The lights kind of dip for a second when the air conditioning kicks on, or maybe they flutter when you're using the microwave. It's so easy to just go, it's an old house, that's what they do. But what if it isn't just a quirk? What if it's actually a symptom of something much, much bigger? Or how about this one? You're trying to multitask. Maybe you've got the vacuum going and you decide to make some toast, and then click, everything goes dark. So you do the little shuffle of shame down to the electrical panel, you flip the breaker back on, and you just cross your fingers it doesn't happen again. It's super frustrating for sure, but it's also a blaring sign that your system is just plain overloaded. And then you've got the really subtle stuff. That faint, almost unnoticeable buzzing sound coming from an outlet, or maybe from the panel itself. It's so quiet you could easily miss it, but that is a sound that should never be ignored. See, these aren't just little annoyances. This is your home's electrical system literally crying out for help. Now, the story behind all these little cries for help, well, a lot of it comes down to where you live and when your house was actually built. And to really get this, we're going to look at Los Angeles. It's this perfect case study. A city with this wild mix of old and new that puts an incredible amount of stress on its electrical grid. Okay, check this out, because the gap this slide shows is, well, it's huge. Over on the left, you've got your classic 1920s bungalow. It's probably running on ancient knob and tube wiring with like a tiny 60-amp service. It was designed for a couple of light bulbs and maybe a radio. Now compare that to the modern building on the right. We're talking 200-amp service built to handle everything from smart home tech to electric cars. The demand for power has just exploded, but the wiring in so many older homes is stuck in the past. And in a place like Los Angeles, it's not even just about age. The environment itself is constantly attacking the system. You've got seismic activity, so wiring has to be able to handle being shaken around. You've got brutal summer heat that just cooks electrical panels and breaks down insulation. And hey, if you live near the coast, that salty air is literally eating away at your connections. All of this is happening in a state with some of the toughest energy codes in the country. It's basically a perfect storm for an electrical system. All right, so with all that in mind, let's look at what happens when the system goes from just being stressed to being at its breaking point. These are the red flags, the ones that mean you need to pay attention, like right now.
Let's be absolutely 100% clear about this. If you smell something burning and you know it's not coming from the kitchen, your very next thought needs to be your electrical system. This is not a wait-and-see kind of thing. This is a 5-alarm fire bell screaming at you that parts are overheating to a super dangerous level.
And that burning smell isn't the only sign of immediate danger. You've got outlets that spark when you plug something in, circuit breakers that just keep tripping no matter what you do, switches or outlets that feel hot when you touch them or look kind of brown and discolored. And of course, if you ever get any kind of shock from an appliance, even a tiny one, well, these are all signs of a system that's failing. Okay, this next one is going to sound really weird, but stick with me because it's incredibly important. If you ever notice this strange, unexplainable, fishy, or kind of urine-like smell in your house, that could be a huge electrical problem. That very specific smell comes from the chemicals that get released when the heavy plastic in your outlets or breakers gets way too hot and starts to melt. It is a very, very distinct warning sign of a serious fire hazard. All right, enough of the scary stuff. We've talked about the problems, we've talked about the dangers. Now let's talk about the good part, the solution. How do we bring a home's electrical system out of the dark ages and safely into the 21st century? So really, it all boils down to this. Those 60 or 100 amp panels you find in a lot of older homes, they were just never ever designed for the way we live today. They can't safely handle the AC, the computer, the big screen TV, and all our kitchen gadgets going at the same time. That constant overload is the root cause of basically every problem we've just talked about. The real fix here is a panel upgrade. And honestly, it's a way more straightforward process than you might think. First, a professional comes in and does an assessment. They figure out exactly how much power your home actually needs. Then comes the expert part. They swap out that old panel for a modern 200 amp service that meets all the current safety codes. And finally, a city inspector comes by to double-check all the work, making sure everything is totally safe and up to snuff. But here's the thing. A modern upgrade isn't just about getting more power. It's about getting smarter and safer power. And these two are the heroes of modern electrical safety. On the left, you've got GFCI outlets. Think of them as bodyguards for wet areas like your kitchen and bathroom. They sense any tiny imbalance in the electrical current and shut off the power in a split second to prevent electrocution. Then on the right, you have AFCI breakers. Their job is to prevent fires by detecting dangerous electrical sparks, the kind you get from a frayed cord or bad wiring in the wall. Modern codes require both of them, and for good reason.
And let's be honest, this is about more than just safety. It's about actually being able to live our modern lives. You want to get an EV charger? You're going to need a panel that can handle it. Thinking about building a smart home? You need stable, reliable power. From your home office to new energy-efficient appliances, a modern electrical system is the foundation you need to build a home of the future on. So, we've walked through the symptoms, the underlying causes, and the solutions, and now it all comes back to you and to your home.
Every single flicker, every time a breaker trips, every faint little buzz, it's a word in that story. And by understanding what these signs actually mean, you stop being someone who just puts up with it, and you start becoming someone who's in control of your own home safety. You just have to learn how to listen.
So the final question is a simple one, but it's really the most important takeaway from all of this. You know the signs now, you get the risks, and you know the solutions. What story is your electrical system trying to tell you? And are you ready to finally listen?